Since helping couples is my jam, I began to think in the restaurant, just what goes into being a vibrant couple and that long-lasting connection that they have. And how can I share those thoughts that I'm having with my community, you? It's worthwhile to periodically do what you could kind of call an audit. Think about, how are we doing? And if there's any trouble spots, do something to remedy that. That's, what do we need to do to remedy it? Hi there, and welcome to the Talk Love with Carol show, the 5 pillars of a great relationship and how to get them. So I have a question for you. Have you ever watched a couple who you could tell had been together for a long time, and yet they seemed to delight in each other? Last week, I took myself out to a restaurant, and I was eating alone, and so I was looking around, and I noticed this couple, and they were engaged in a vibrant conversation. They leaned toward each other, they smiled, they were listening intently to each other, and then laughing, smiling with their eyes as well as their mouth. They touched the other person's hands once in a while. It was just really delightful to watch. And I didn't even need to hear what they were talking about, which I didn't. But the body language told it all. You could see that they were paying attention. You could see that they were not distracted by anything else, and that they were just happy to be together, were having fun, and they were just happy to be in each other's presence. And it just made me feel warm all over. And smile to myself. I didn't want anybody to think I was, stalking them or anything. And I thought of how different it is with other couples that I've seen in restaurants when I just feel so sad for them. They sit there and they look like they're frozen into their own little silo, and maybe poking at their phone, or maybe just looking around, not at each other, and not even like those people you can tell are in a huge fight and are just scowling at each other, but just the sort of boredom and the just lack of connection. Ugh. It's so sad, and the silence. So I'm Dr. Carol Henry. I'm a psychologist and a relationship coach, and I work with couples whose relationship is not where they want it to be, and I help them build the relationship of their dreams, go from wherever they are to that. Since helping couples is my jam, I began to think in the restaurant, just what goes into being a vibrant couple and that long-lasting connection that they have. And how can I share those thoughts that I'm having with my community, you? So that's what I'm doing today. So as you're listening, even if your own relationship is going well and happily, it's worthwhile to periodically do what you could kind of call an audit. Think about, how are we doing? And if there's any trouble spots, do something to remedy that. That's what do we need to do to remedy it? Be honest when you do the audit, and you'll be glad you did. It can be wonderful to celebrate the things that are going so well. And if you find those problem areas, then address them so they don't keep on. Because when things keep on, they get bigger as time goes on. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk about today is 5 pillars of a great relationship. And I've been working with couples for 30 plus years. And when I first started, I used to do different techniques or use different conceptualizations or programs or whatever that other people created. And I still use a lot of the research-based things that I know. And I was even a therapist in a couples therapy study. And so I use some of that. And I've also added what I know to be really important in couples. And that's that we go from the inside to the outside. And what I mean by that is in any couple, it's made up of two people. And in any person, there's their inner life and then there's their outer life. And so part of what we do to really create that exceptional couple that is just vibrant and they know that their relationship is going to last and thrive and build on itself for the rest of their lives. To do that, you've got to work on yourself and you have to work on how you are together. So these pillars encompass both of those, but there's only 5 of them here. So the first one is the vision. And any journey, if you think of improving your relationship, building a great relationship, it's a journey. So any journey that you start, you want to know where you're headed. You want to know what the end, you could say the end game, although it's not a game, but the end place is. Where do you want to get? So the way you can use this idea of creating a vision is twofold. One is that each of you create a vision for your life, your own life. So, and you may have already done this, but I'm just reviewing it. So start from today and think, what do I want next? It may be different than the vision that you even made in January 1st of this year or even last year. So what do you want to make sure that you have in your life? And some people come up with, I know I'm going to want to go to grad school within the next 3 years. Once something happens, maybe one child goes off to college or one child goes into middle school so that that you might have a little time to do that. Or some people think about, what are some of the things that I love that I'm not really doing right now? And it can be anything from quilting to snowboarding to anything, hiking, working out daily, whatever it is that's going to make you feel like, yes, I am living the life I want to live. I'm doing it. And sometimes when other things intervene, we can just do it sometimes, do it a little bit. But the vision is, here's what I want to be part of my life. And I want my life to include this thing. Okay, so you're doing that for yourself. And then you create a shared vision. And that's, how do we want to be as a couple? What do we want our principles to be, the mission that we think we have? And a mission could be something like to raise the kids to be incredible citizens, really loving to other people and successful or something like that. Or it could be something different outside your family, where you want to be a leader in a certain thing, whatever it is. So, and then the day-to-day, what do we want to make sure are the things that we have included in our vision, because that's what we want our life to look like. And sometimes people can do this fairly quickly, and other people really take time to do it. It takes them time to do. And they do it, and then they add, and then they subtract, but it's really, really useful. It's a bonding experience, although I will say some people argue about it in the shared part. But it ends up, it's honoring that we're together, we're in this life together, we are building our lives together. And here's some things that right now we think we want in them. Okay, so that's vision. And there's some inside there and there's some outside in the relationship. Okay, and then the second one here, the second pillar, trust. And sometimes when we think of trust in a relationship, we're thinking of fidelity or infidelity. And of course, that's a thing. But I've come to realize that trust is really built in very small and then large things, in large ways. So, for example, listening. When you're listening to understand your partner, when you really listen and you're not, on your phone or, looking the other way or whatever, when you listen, you build trust because your partner can trust that you care what he or she is talking about, and that you will care. It's evidence that you care and that you're trustworthy in that way. And then there's respect. That's part of trust too. I trust, you learn to trust. And you might say, I trust that my partner will respect me. And then there's holding your heart gently. And I have my hands up like that because I love this one. Trusting that your partner will be gentle with you, will think about you in such a caring way that they're gentle. Another piece of trust is giving each other the benefit of the doubt. So you can trust that if something happens, you're not going to get just blowtorch for it. You're going to be given the benefit of the doubt. So you'll have time to discuss it. And then part of trust is being trustworthy. Because if you want to be trusted, you have to be trustworthy. And another piece of trust is prioritizing. Prioritizing your partner at times over everything else, even over your kids. That could be a hard one. Now, of course, if you have a baby, you have to take care of the baby, and you have to take care of the baby when the baby needs to be taken care of right now, often. But prioritizing your partner builds trust. They trust you. They trust that you love them that much, that you will be seeking ways to be with him or her. And then there's seeking to understand more about your partner all the time. That builds trust too. To understand, to be understood is one of our most core needs. We want to be understood and loved and trusted. And another way to get trust is to have each other's back. So I don't mean that you agree with them all the time. That just doesn't happen, that we agree with the other person all the time. We may say we do, but there's two different people. You're just simply not going to agree with each other all the time. But what you do when you don't agree can create trust, which is, I'm going to listen and I'm going to try to understand as much as I can about how you're thinking about that. I want to be influenced by you in a way because I love you and I really want to get it. I really want to get from your perspective. And we'll see what we do with that if we disagree. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to talk about. Trust is everywhere in a relationship. I mean, you have ways of building trust that are all the things I've talked about. And frankly, ways to harm trust, reduce trust in all those ways if you don't do them. So then the last one I'm going to talk about is trusting each other financially and trusting that something won't happen behind your back, something big. I don't mean you have to be in each other's business about, what they spend on their makeup or on their, clothes or something like that. But trust that we are doing with our finances what we said we'd do, whatever that is. Okay, so that's the second pillar. The third one that I'm going to talk about is communication. And in high stakes and high emotion conversations, such as disagreements or just big things like buying a house, or buying a new car, going on a very big vacation, or are we going to, are we going to buy a house, or how much are we going to spend? Are we going to buy a new car? Are we going to go on a 4-week vacation? But being able to talk about anything in those conversations, all the conversations that need to be had. Being able to talk to one another about anything and everything. So, so important. Without blame, without shame, without shoulds. But instead having, asking things, saying what you feel without interrupting, and not talking when you're angry. I don't mean don't get angry. There's nothing wrong. It's human to get angry. But I do really believe that when we have conversation, when we're very angry, and when you're just a little irritated versus, just like fire could come out your ears. Not talking then, calling a timeout. Like, I'm really too angry right now. I want to go get myself calmed down, and then I'll be back and we'll continue. I just need that right now. I need to take a timeout. And so see, the timeout is then, and then I'll be back probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And in that time, you're managing yourself. You're getting yourself calmer. You're maybe taking a quick walk or do a few jumping jacks or do whatever it is that get your body relaxed and gets you out of this, really this tension that's in your body, because that's what happens to us when we get angry. We get, our bodies get just clenched up and tense. And you get yourself sorted out, and then you resume the conversation. And so there's way more to talk about in communication, but those, I think, are some of the highlights. So then the fourth pillar is emotional and physical connection. So it's that it's another way I've talked about it is the romance. And the romance is a lot about emotional connection. It's checking in with each other every day, really checking in. How are you? How do you think we're doing? What do you need? That kind of thing. Emotional connection is also fostered, and you can tell that people have it, but it's fostered by intentionally doing things with the other person in mind. Oh, she'd love this, or he'd love this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get this thing. I'm gonna call and see if my partner wants this thing. It's, just because you think that they might love it. But if they don't like surprises, then don't surprise them. Ask. So expressing feelings and issues when they come up, that's another part of emotional connection. Not holding them in and then resenting, because we have really two choices when something comes up. Well, I guess there's a few. We can calm ourselves down and then think of it as like, is this really a big deal? But if the answer is yes, okay. So I guess that was one of three things. So then you either hold it inside and resent the other person. And by the way, they have no idea that it was a problem. So when resentment comes out, they're going to be surprised. Like, what? What, ugh. Or you tell them, and you tell them in ways that they can hear it, not like you did this or you did that, but this is how I felt when this happened. And here's what it meant to me. And I want you to know that. So really, you don't have a choice of not bringing something up. If it passes do I really think that? Am I really, yeah, I really do think that. This is really bothering me. Okay, do not hold that inside for weeks, months. If you can't talk about it in the moment, let's say something happens at a party that you really feel bad about, so talk about it the next day, or talk about it when you get on the way home, or maybe if there hasn't been too much drinking going on, you can talk about it on the way home. Otherwise, talk about it the next day. But talk about it, okay? And then there's more about communications. And this is not even anything to do with arguments or things that you feel bad about. It's talk about your successes. Share your successes at work, with the kids, in something that you're learning, whatever it is, and share your failures. Just share that. Like, open the window to your heart and share it with each other. It creates that emotional connection. It absolutely does. And this is just a hint. When your partner is telling you about whatever their day was or all that, let's say it's about a failure, make sure you don't give them advice that they don't ask for, and tell them, well, you should have done this, you should have done that, you should have done that. Instead, to still be close, be supportive, have empathy, and just listen. So I just wanted to say that, because so many times in that really loving intention of helping their partner that feels bad about, had a bad thing happen at work or whatever, if they say, what do you think I should have done? What do you hear where I messed up here? Then tell them if you have anything to say. But unless you hear that, just listen. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry that happened. That must be hard. That's really hard. Or whatever it is. Don't give advice, because that can feel to the other person like you're not listening. And that's not what I want. I don't want you to tell me more than I already know myself how I messed up, Okay. The fifth and final pillar that I'm going to talk about today is personal growth in each partner. So there's a saying which I think is very relevant and true, and that's, if you want to grow your relationship, grow yourself. So when I was talking earlier about the inner and the outer, now we're talking about the inner. So I'll give you a few bullets about that one. Take responsibility for the success of your relationship. By which I don't mean take credit for it. I mean, make sure that what you're doing is building the success of your relationship. Okay. On the other side, owning the responsibility for your part in the problems. Not, if only he would XYZ, I'd be happy. Or if only she would do less of XYZ, I'd be happy. That's sure, probably true. But what's your part? Why does she do all of this? Why does he do less of this? Or it could be the opposite. Owning your own, like, I always correct the way he does this thing. Or I come home from work and I just say what a mess the house is and what she's been doing all day. Okay, that's not an encouraging thing. So owning your own part, managing your emotions when you're angry. Again, there's nobody saying you shouldn't be angry. We're all angry sometimes. But what do you do about it is where the choice is. And where, as you mature as a person and as a partner, you will get better and better at this. Or maybe it's vice versa. As you get better and better, you become a better partner. But anyway, what we do with our emotions. Of course, I'm not talking about stuff them or just be resentful. But are you frustrated, let's say from work, and you come home and you take it out on the kids and the partner that's home? Do you get very quickly angry and defensive during a conversation if your partner is complaining about something that you do? Instead of taking that moment to think, you're right, I do that. I'm gonna have to work on that. So managing your emotions. Self-awareness is really kind of underneath that, the managing your emotions and taking responsibility for your part of problems and of successes. So being really aware of you. This has nothing to do with being selfish or anything. It's like, what do I do? What do I think? How am I in the world? How am I as a dad or a mom? How am I as a partner? do I seem lazy? Do I expend all my energy at work or all my energy with the kids and there's nothing left and I'm just like a, rag doll after that? Whatever. Know yourself, accept yourself, love yourself, and figure out what you could do better and how you really want to be as a partner. That's important. Essentially, each person having good self-esteem makes a good relationship. And self-esteem is really about knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, accepting them, and approving of yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you don't change the things that you think are problem behaviors. Of course you do. But yeah, I'm a flawed person. I can own that. I'm working on some of my flaws, but I'm pretty good. I'm okay. So that's kind of self-esteem. So those are the 5 pillars. So I'll review them. I have to review them for myself to make sure I remember. Okay, vision, trust, communication, emotional and physical connection. I didn't really talk about physical connection, but we can talk about that another time. And then personal growth in each partner. So when I work with clients in my private relationship coaching, we work on all these things and many more. So what I know and what I'm sure you know is it's really difficult to make changes in yourself, in your relationship, without some help. And if you're interested in creating the relationship of your dreams and you're interested in getting some expert mentoring and coaching along with support and encouragement, give me a call. I'm going to link to a schedule, the way to schedule a call in the comments. Or you could contact me at my email. And that email is my name, Carol, C-A-R-O-L-J Henry @gmail.com. Carol J. Henry @gmail.com. Okay. I'll see you next week. The topic will be 3 mistakes couples make that can lead to divorce. Make sure you love each other well. Okay. Take care. Bye now.